Oh my goodness gracious, what an episode. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome in to Talking Trek, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast tonight, stepping outside of the game and into the Star Trek universe, and specifically Starfleet Academy, Episode 6, Come, Let's Away. Let it be known that there will be spoilers contained within. Griffin, what an incredible episode. We're here to talk about it tonight. That was some nasty
It is
trick.
impossible to spoil that episode. If you don't like that episode, you do not like science fiction entertainment, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm telling you what, that was incredible track, and we're here to break it all down with very special guests tonight, Beck Likes Plants and Chicago Hearts. I am your host, UltimatDJz. That's Griffin, and good evening. Welcome in, everybody. Let's get it going with a Talking Trek server sound-off, a Starfleet Academy.
And a Ghost Cherry Energy.
Oh, fantastic. I'm also enjoying a Ghost Strawbango tonight. Let's go ahead and pop it open. There we go. Good evening, everybody. A psychological thriller, literally in someone's brain, says Wolfpack. Absolutely crazy. Iron Chef on 14, Ginmon on 26. Wolfpack says, mind blown. Silvertab says, was that Trekkie enough for the haters out there? Ooh, good question.
It was.
We're going to talk about it
10 out of
tonight.
10.
John Drill, 32. Wristbreaker on 30. J-Babes on 13. Louis P on Server 20. What's going on? Domo on 700. Tony Pine, 86. Silvertab on 33. Commander Taylor, 187. Snowball on 12. That on Flagship 15. Captain Taylor on 27. Red on Server 74. Wolfpack on 711. Fun Daddy on 701. What's going on?
Fun Daddy.
Kirk on 99. Walker on server 42. Sydney on 95. Maximus Bull on 56. Duder on 51. Tony on 95. And Guffa on 710. Real Cookie Monster on server 80. Scaly Back from the Outback on 188. And Captain Nala Ake is joining our live studio audience, everybody. On server.
Put your shoes on.
She wore shoes this time. There were shoes. Oh, my goodness gracious. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you guys all being here. Welcome into the show. My name is UltimatDJz, and boy, what a show for you tonight. That's right, Kirk. Shut the front door. Holy smokes.
Boy, that was hot.
That was a mind bender if there ever was one. What a fantastic episode. We're going to break it all down tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our expert panelists tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her, love her. Her name is Beck Likes Plants, and Chicago Hearts is here. Good evening, ladies and gents. How are you?
Cheers to you both.
Cheers.
Expert.
Whew.
Expert. You guys hear that? Expert. I'll take it.
Well, after last week, we had nothing but incredible feedback of how I should talk a lot less and Chicago Hearts and Beck should talk a lot more.
Well, it was...
that will not be happening because this is finally an episode that I cannot wait to talk about from top to bottom.
Oh,
I
no.
loved the formulaic classic Star Trek that it is like literally that delicious key lime pie at the end of your favorite Bahama Breeze meal that you just can't wait to dig into.
That
Where do
was...
you get these analogies from? Where do they come from?
Yeah, that's true.
the darkness of his brain somewhere in there. Listen, if you have not watched Starfleet Academy Episode 6, then stop right now.
You lose.
I don't
Go
want
watch it.
Go watch it. Come back. All right. If you're in the live studio audience, there are spoilers abound in this episode. We're going to break every single thing down. This was absolutely incredible. But I must warn that there will be spoilers on the episode. We're going to be talking about everything. We've got the plot. We've got the breakdown. We've got the interactions. We've got the lore. We've got the callbacks. We've finally maybe see our season 1 big baddie. I'm still not convinced that he's working alone. We saw the return of Nus Braka, and we're going to see some significant character developments with a few key cadets here, and we're going to get into it all. So that was absolutely my blood pressure's up, man. That was some good Trek.
It followed the amazing, classic, beautiful formula that we all love. It had conflict. It had a bad guy.
Yes.
It had an impossible to solve problem.
Yes.
It had starship drama and how are they going to get out of this? They had an impossible solution, which just might work if they can figure out how to do it. And, you know,
and it
all
even
good things, or are they?
And
we had great Star Trek. We had Spock, Beck, Spock.
Yeah.
Spock was quoted. Beck, Spock was quoted word for word.
Yeah, except they said a once famous officer. I'm like, excuse me, he was more than that. But I'll let it slide. It's
I
fine.
feel
Once
that is
famous.
an interesting nugget there. Why didn't they say his name? I don't know. Maybe that was a deep cut for the fans to be able to identify that. Was that a satisfying moment to be able to identify that without just having the hint laid out to you there? And as Kirk points out, we also had a little bit of Nookie there in the beginning, so that was teenage drama for you as well.
You know, my expectations were very, very low at the beginning because yes, it did start with a gratuitous sex scene. There was definitely side boob, okay. And I had Junior in the room. It's like, okay, we're gonna watch our first Star Trek show together. Are you ready? Get the popcorn. We're gonna check it out. And then the first words out of his mouth is, "Daddy, is she naked?" And then that was it for him.
Oh, go to bed, son. Oh my goodness
And you know
gracious.
what? In 20 years, when they ask how you became a Trekkie,
Well, it
Yeah.
all goes back to this first episode I watched with my dad, and there was side boob. Yeah, there it was. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the conversation. The episode was episode number 6. Come, let's away. Obviously, our cadets' first away team mission. This opening scene was a little bit. I wondered about its placement there, Griffin, and I know you even said like this was not an interesting start to the episode.
I want to start with the music choice. Olivia Dunn's song, incredible.
Yes.
Okay. It sounded a lot like Imogen Heap, if you remember Imogen Heap.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. It was haunting. Anytime you use that voice harmonizer, it always ends up kind of sounding the same. But what a great, beautiful, haunting way to introduce you into a new chapter of Trek. We have definitely turned the page. If this were a Star Wars movie, it would definitely be The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, we've introduced the character. We know who's who in the zoo, and we're just starting right off with Beck, who I have to admit, completely right. In this relationship, I see where she is going now, but it was like melodically, it was a beautiful introduction, and it really took you into the moment, right, DJ?
Well, I mean, it certainly did, and that moment was interesting for some. Obviously, we saw the rekindling or the continuation of this drama and this romance between Tarima and Caleb. And I love it. I'm here for it. Beck, you have consistently said that you feel like there is something that is going to break this couple apart. I feel like this is my Riker and Troy right here is Caleb and Tarima. I'm rooting for them. Why? Chicago has commentary there. Okay.
I don't know. Does he speak? None of us know.
Do I speak? Yes, I can speak.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, Chicago Hearts.
I have the ability. Hello, is this
Yeah,
my universal translator working?
We got you.
First, that explains
We
a
got
lot.
you.
First time I've heard you in 7 days. Good to hear your voice.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I have strong thoughts. I just, DJs, I think from the last episode, we had doubled down on them staying together.
Yes.
And I'm here today to triple down on that point. Even because the very first scene led her to pull out the inhibitor and everything, all roads lead to them getting closer as a result and at least seeing what the heck happens with her full emotion range.
Well,
I know bad things.
yeah, here's the thing. The first scene, let's go ahead and get the awkward out of the way, because the first 5 or 6 minutes of the episode obviously set up something very important later in the episode. But this was
You say
definitely
awkward. What was awkward about it?
This is the 90210. This is what the Trek haters are not going to like about this episode, and that's fine. It's set up.
And
something-
what exactly are you referring to?
I'm talking about the side boob and the
No, that's not it.
and the
That's not
nookie.
it.
And the
You're
nookie.
completely wrong.
Okay.
It's not the side boob that they don't like. It's the fact that we have confused Beta Z capabilities with mind melds. they're two completely different things. Why is this all of a sudden now a mind meld situation?
No, remember, she is special. Okay. Her brother even comes back and says what's in the file is not the whole story. It's an old, outdated file. We also learn a little bit of something about her childhood, but Tarima is not just any typical Betazoid. All right. She's got an ability. And we saw that very, very early in the episode. Now, there was a lot of interesting conversation in the chat as to whether or not Caleb's reaction was justified. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but we definitely saw a little bit of trouble in the romantic paradise, Chicago. Caleb's reaction to her invasion, learning now, it seems, I mean, we saw the teddy bear item, but then she even said, I didn't know this about your mom. I didn't know. So she obviously has a lot more understanding now. Caleb's reaction to that, do you think that was justified or was it an overreaction? He called her weird.
Or should he have apologized? Should he have worded, I'm very, very sorry before the scene ended? Should he or should he not have?
I think he tried.
I think he tried. Maybe
Sorry, you were already wrong. You're wrong. You thought too long. You thought too long.
Okay.
You're out.
All right,
Chicago. Should he have apologized?
When do we get
at the end
this
of the first
sound
scene?
effect?
Oh
this
my
is
God.
aggressive.
Yeah, it is aggressive.
Beck has the right answer. Beck knows that Beck, should he have apologized? Should he let her walk out of the room without apologizing?
No.
Well, no, of course
Well, that's
not.
way longer than I hesitated.
Well, no. I didn't know where the question was going. I thought the question was, should he have been upset? And
whether or not he's
that's
upset is
different-
his prerogative.
Exactly.
She didn't mean to. She didn't mean to do it. It was an accident.
He should
Right.
apologize
He should have
for the name
apologized.
calling. He called
And
her
he did
weird.
his classic. Yeah, he did his classic. I'm hurt, and the only thing I know to do when I'm hurting is to hurt somebody else, and that's exactly what he did.
Oh,
and we've seen him
Caleb.
do this multiple times.
Oh,
That makes
Caleb.
a terrible boyfriend, ladies. That's the bad
Caleb.
guy that you shouldn't be picking.
Come on, Caleb. You've got to grow up. You got to start doing better, okay? That being said, it did set the tone for these two coming later in the episode. And actually, I saw it in chat during the episode. Okay, they're going to make up during some amazing, high dramatic, high stakes moment, and we saw that a little bit later. But I did kind of want to touch on that here at the beginning of the episode to kind of get it out of the way, because that first 5 or 6 minutes, we saw a little bit of that slow piece, that scar, but really right after that, we were pedal to the metal. We went straight from 0 to 100 into full trek. We saw what was supposed to be the launch of a simple training exercise. This was a field trip, Griffin. This was
simple.
This was a simple field trip. It was a test of these cadets. This was essentially a field experience that multiple classes. Now, this was one thing that kind of threw me off. Okay, they talked about previous classes of cadets. Yet this is supposed to be the first class of Starfleet Academy.
Oh, see, you didn't listen. He talked about the previous War College.
War College. So the War College had gone
Not-
on for a little while.
Yes, that is correct. But you keep saying this word simple. That exposition explaining what was going to happen on that away team mission, maybe I was a little distracted shooing Brody out of the room after the side boob, but it's like, what did he just say? What are they doing? Like, I don't know what it was about his monologue, but I did not get what they were supposed to be doing at first.
All right, Beck, lay it out for the audience. Very simple. They had a task. What was this task, this field trip, this experiment, this training exercise between the two colleges?
Well, the task was kind of what they ended up doing in order to save themselves. They were supposed to restore life support and power to the ship, which is a semi-impossible task that nobody had either gotten / had done very poorly in the past.
Was this a Kobayashi Maru style test of the of Starfleet 1,000 years in the future? Chicago?
I think so. Oh.
Well, sorry. No, go ahead. She's hiding.
No, she's hiding. She's
No,
currently
please.
hiding. She's shriveling away. She's a wilted flower.
Chat says
Chicago
no.
Hearts. You have to save it. You have to save the day.
I
Chat
still have
says,
buzzer trauma, but okay.
Go ahead, Chicago.
What do you
Was
mean?
this Kobayashi Maru? No cadet had ever actually accomplished this task. Was this a Kobayashi Maru event?
Maybe, but it certainly wasn't painted as such. Like, First of all, the highest score ever recorded was a 65%, which last I checked, that is a D and is a passing grade. So it's not like it's never been beaten. It's just never been beaten well. I don't think it's a Kobayashi Maru. I think it could have been an interesting challenge on its own if they weren't ambushed, but I'm happier with the ambushed version.
For sure. Obviously, they board the USS Miyazaki, which we're going to talk about this experimental post-burn warp technology here in just a little bit, because obviously this ship had been wrecked for 125 years. That was laid out in the episode. So post-burn, they were trying to harness a quantum singularity for space travel, and it didn't go so well. The ship was destroyed, and her crew were lost. Griffin, as we learn more about the Miyazaki, and just as soon as our cadets step on board, suddenly they're attacked by a new enemy in the Starfleet universe, Star Trek universe. Have we ever heard of the Furies? I don't think that has happened anywhere. Right up to this point.
No, we have never heard of the Furies. First of all, I'd like to point out Harry Kim continues to get no respect because he figured out the quantum slipstream drive. You know, he did have to travel forward and backward in time. He got it right. Where were his notes?
He didn't get it right.
Why did the ship blow up?
He didn't get it right. What are you talking about? He killed everybody.
He did get it right.
No, he killed them all.
But then he fixed it. He fixed it, and then he took it back in time, and then 7 to 9, and then
he didn't fix it.
Bang, bang, boom.
He knocked him out because he couldn't fix it. All right, he knocked him out. Now it did save a bunch of time.
But did the ship explode? No, the ship did not explode.
They shut it down. Okay, they shut it down after he killed everybody. Then he couldn't solve it. The calculations didn't work. It didn't solve the problem, so he just shut down the drive. And this is Voyager, by the way. Spoilers.
Enterprise reminds us that they are in canon. There are Star Trek novels that talk about the Furies. I thought the Furies were wonderful. They literally, they're out for blood. They're cannibals. They're going to eat you. They're going to take your money, and then they're still going to eat you. And I thought that it reminded me of the Vidians. It's like, oh, okay, here we finally have a new bad guy that we're talking about. It's just like the Vidians in Voyager. They're going to come. They're going to harvest organs. They're going to have bloody mouths. People are going out the airlock.
I said they were a combination of Vidians and Reavers from Firefly, and you said this, and then Danny said Reavers in chat, and I'm like, okay, so other people are thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. They were the right amount of creepy.
They were very creepy. They were described as a human-alien hybrid, nothing more about that. A human-alien hybrid that basically had become cannibals. Now, they also... And correct me if I'm wrong, they also seem to be in phase. Like the way that their masks were moving and their headgear was moving, they felt like they were not entirely there. They were like, in phase or something. I mean, was that just an effect?
Maybe they're Jonathan Archer.
Was that just an effect of these aliens or these Reavers, if they were, or what was their situation? Were they actually there?
Yeah.
But why were they all floaty?
You don't know.
I want to know.
Well, you don't know yet. You'll find out because this is not the last we've seen. We're going to see of them, as we'll talk about by the end.
Okay. All right. Sure. We'll see the Furies again. So the Furies take over the ship. They take everybody hostage. Obviously, there wasn't much of a battle with the cadets. They had them very quickly. This brings into the conversation the state of our cadets up to this point. Now, how long have we assumed that they've been in college? Because I was admittedly maybe a little disappointed that they didn't behave like officers. All right. We had the lieutenant commander who was an officer there with them. But, I mean, we saw sniveling, whining, crying cadets here. And I was maybe a little surprised that we didn't see them holding it together a little bit better, Griffin.
Are you referring to the girl? Because the girl was on the ship, the one that they took to sick bay?
Well, yes, that one. But
she's not even on the away team.
Yeah, which makes it worse, right? And then you also had. Okay.
Yep. Here it comes.
No.
Okay, Beck. Beck.
I don't know. I don't know how much time has passed. I'm gonna assume at least 6 months. right? I'm going to assume at least 6 months has passed from episode 1 to now, because we know from the context of Sam's episode that the class she wanted to get in was already almost ending, right?
Okay.
So
Right.
like we know that like they've at least already been through 1 semester, if not 2. I would assume at this point now it's about 2. I would assume a good amount of time has passed over the course of the last 6 episodes that we've watched, simply just because it's got to make sense for the pacing of how the characters are now getting along with one another. So putting that aside in a box, and then thinking about like this is their first real away team mission, right? Looking at that once again, like you see the War College students have a much different approach to this than the Starfleet Academy students, right?
Oh,
like
yes.
you're noticing War College is like, this is what we train for, this is how we are. So that's what you're looking for. But this is, I think, to show us just how unprepared these kids are, right? Like, so you're not necessarily wrong in the sense of they weren't necessarily officers yet, but they were not ready. Or I guess not ready, but not prepared. They hadn't been prepared yet. So.
Yeah. I can absolutely agree with that. And I can agree that the War College cadets seem to have been more prepared for this. Even the chancellor had said, hey, this is what we train for. This is what we're prepared for. They had a protocol. Lieutenant Commander gave his life for the cadets. This was their protocol.
Tomov.
And,
Tomov was the man.
Was the Vulcan cadet, Bavir? I'm sorry, I know I'm not remembering his name right. Bobby said, listen, I know what Tomov is doing. This is our protocol. He behaved exactly like he should have. This was explained to Caleb, who also, and again, the chat's saying, these guys weren't prepared. Beck says they weren't prepared. Even Caleb, who's lived a life of crime, lived a life surviving, seemed to be really out of place in this episode. Chicago, I would have expected Caleb to be more suited for this type of attack, yet we saw him completely just scared and scared stiff, motionless, speechless in a lot of cases. He didn't know what to do when this happened. Did that surprise you?
I mean, in some respect, like they're brand new cadets. They're on their very first away mission, so I expect some of that. But on the other hand, like I actually thought when push came to shove, like pretty much everyone tapped into that clutch gene and really found it within them to be pretty good under pressure. I mean, I can't imagine putting myself in that situation, even if it's been 1,000 years of technological advancements. And, you could put like, Picard or Kirk and Spock and Data in that same situation in place of Caleb and the Betazoid, I always forget her name, and Sam, right? And they're kind of doing the same like teamwork thing that we love about Star Trek, right? It's like, oh, you've got these certain skills that kick ass. You can do that really fast. You do your part here. I've got these certain skills and can collaborate with this person.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that was like, it was this symphony of working together and kicking ass with not even just great training, but great talent and great camaraderie. I thought, all things considered, they responded much better than expected to that situation. If anything, they were carrying the good decisions this episode. The poor decisions were made by the higher up Starfleet leadership.
That is a really interesting thing. Go ahead, Beck.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that you do the moderation thing, and I'm just ready to say things, so I gotta wait my turn. I apologize, everybody.
Say all the things.
Screw moderation. We don't need moderation.
He called us experts earlier, and I'm being very unprofessional. No, I think like just one tiny note on that is just the fact of, we remember that this is a routine thing that they've been doing for X amount of time already. They didn't go in with the mindset of there was going to be any danger. They went in with the fact of, all right, we're going to try to beat the last guy's score
Sneak attack.
And do that. And on top of that, like, how terrifying is it to be like a kid who is totally unprepared? This is their first like away team mission, and they have no weapons, right? Because they're not meant to. They were not meant to be prepared in that way. They were just meant to go and turn on the ship, and that's it. So imagine the fear that strikes your heart when you notice that you're in actual danger, you don't have connection to the ship, and you don't know what to do. Like, your only superior, the only like adult in the room, just died. Like, what are you gonna do? So just putting that like into perspective, I would not have reacted probably as well as they did.
Okay.
I got nails. I'd probably try to stab, but like that's as close as I'd get.
Fair enough.
They're bloody.
And
You can see
it
that.
very well could be that I had commander and captain expectations of these kids, and because that's the Trek that we would have seen and have seen in a lot of other cases. And again, this goes back to the show being about cadets, being about kids in college, learning, which also is, the very beginning of the show. That was a very college scene, So it was very, very interesting to me to kind of see how these cadets had responded. And you're right, Chicago, once they were able to collect themselves, then we did see some delegation. We saw some tasks being completed. We saw Sam come in and literally revive the computer, which I thought was a very, very cool thing. Then slightly odd that it got its updated instructions from a comic book. Griffin, comment on this particular piece. I'm a little, again, really great episode, but teeny tiny little things I'm going to nitpick here. Tell me about the comic book.
I mean, it's a historical text as far as the computer is concerned. So at least there was some data that had all the right names, all the right people, the right, it made sense to the computer. Who are we to argue that?
Okay.
I mean,
so
it was all there. And then I thought it was actually a clever way of tying in younger audiences. We still like our graphic novels. I got a stack of them over here.
Who was carrying a comic book on this mission?
Are you kidding me? The Vulcan. He's all about the nerddom of this ship.
So we're going on a field trip.
In the beginning of the episode, he talked about, ooh, I love the ship. Hey, hello, McFly. He said, ooh, this is the reason why I'm in Starfleet Academy, because of this ship and what happened on this ship. I mean, this is like his whole DNA for wanting to even be in Starfleet in the first place. Of course he has the comic book with him.
Now, Diggs says they pulled it up on the computer. The computer had been offline for 125 years.
He's on the ship that he wanted to see the whole entire time he was in, growing up. I would take it too.
Okay. Well, see, even the chat is arguing. They pulled it up on the computer. The computer was offline for 125 years. It wasn't synced up to the cloud. There was no time.
No, that's not.
There was no time for that to sync up.
It was not pulled up on the ship computer.
No.
He literally pulled it off of his like digital thingy and did one of these maneuvers.
And there it was.
And then,
he saved the day.
He had it with him.
His alertness and having that with him made the whole thing happen. It was great. And then, other things happened after that. But
Sugar Red
are we done
agrees with
talking
you.
about that first scene? Because I'm telling you, that's one of the best battles that I've seen in years on Star Trek.
McFly.
That was great.
Okay, tell me about the battle.
The battle was incredible. I mean, the stunt coordination, great. The cinematography, great. They did not use their 360 wraparound set for this. This was all done in a practical set.
Very close quarters. Yeah.
The lighting, the gaffing, everything was absolutely beautiful in that scene. It was very believable, and it got my heart elevated because there are really nasty looking bad guys. You didn't know how it was going to turn out. The stakes were already very high because they're about to throw the Vulcan out the airlock already, and there was a fight or flight scenario that is really missing in a lot of today's Trek at that level, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. That was a 10 out of 10.
It really was a very significant tone shift. And even a lot of the commentary that I saw during the episode was that this ship was dark. Even like the airlock was tubular. It invoked a sense, as Beck said, of horror. Dark corridors, the graveyard atmosphere, if you will, and created some survival tension there. I mean, it was set up like a haunted house. Tubular, like it was round, right? It was a dead ship, says Riskbreaker. It was kind of meant to set everybody on edge, I think, very much there. Griffin, you talk about the production quality of this, and it was done in very close quarters. The production notes indicate that this was done in a built set, very, very close quarters. So it was an interesting choice to have this horror field for the way that this first battle goes down. And I'm assuming you're talking about the hand-to-hand combat that happened right as they were getting ready to take Bobby out to the airlock.
Yeah, it was great. The little hand signal, the whole thing going down the way that it went down, the noble sacrifice at the end. From a storytelling component, very compelling. And then just how they shot it was absolutely beautiful. I did not get a chance to see who the director was for this episode, but they've definitely worked on action before, because that was
actually, yeah. So this gentleman's name was Larry Teng. He was the director of this episode, which I actually had thought that this was the episode that Jonathan Frakes was going to be directing. He's number 8. This was Larry Teng, which did a fantastic job, especially. And
he did a lot of Supergirl. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about how he shot this interaction between Ake and Nus Braka, because that was some riveting stuff. We'll talk about Nus Braka coming up here in just a couple of minutes, but what a villain he is turning into. So absolutely great stuff there. Chicago, let me come to you about the setting of the ship. Once they got onto the bridge, the cadets got to the bridge, they sealed it up. Now it became a really urgent thing to get the computer online, because they just had the bulkheads. They just had the door. This was Sam's moment to shine. Sam came in and saved the entire team by introducing or getting the computer back online. Tell me how you saw Sam, her bravery or lack thereof, if there was. She saved all of their lives in that moment. Tell me how you see Sam right now.
We're coming off the back of a Sam episode, and there was that scene, right? And she's taking over they're taking over the computer, and it's like, hey, it's 1,200 files scattered over however many micro pockets of code, and they're like, pockets of code that'll take years to fix. And Sam just hits him with the "for you," right? And you just get those chills, those like, oh, this is Data Picard season 3 type of vibes. Like, this is like the hero sort of moment. And I thought that was super awesome. For me, just loving all the computer characters, Data and Seven, and now Sam as well. I think that was just a kick-ass moment, a first display of like, hey, this is why you need Sam on your team. This is why you need Sam in your crew. These are skills that you can't just find anywhere. So I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I'm Team Sam. I hope they continue to kick ass in this sort of manner. I also hope for the health of the series, it's a once every here and there thing, and that other people get to have their cool standout moments as well. But I was thrilled to see it be Sam on this episode.
Beck, you've been a big fan of Sam from the beginning as well. Her exposure to this alien threat in this episode pushed her also beyond her programming. And I love to use those words, because that is something that Data showed us many, many times. Chicago was how Data evolved beyond his programming. The Doctor evolved beyond his programming. How do you think Sam's program, and this is a very deep question, how do you feel that this trauma has impacted Sam's program? We know just in the last episode that she's here to report back to her makers as to whether or not the organics can be trusted. What does this trauma do for her experience with her friends, with organics, and her logic processors, her decision making? What does this do for her?
I think this is a very interesting moment where we see, Sam has always expressed care for her, I don't want to say colleagues, for her college mates, for her crew, for her friends. And I guess by extension of that logic, she's made friends. This was a moment where Sam technically didn't have to participate. Not that she wouldn't, but she didn't have to. She didn't have to help. She doesn't have the same risk that everybody else does. She's different. But I think in this moment, what it probably led her to was the thought of, I have a choice right now, and that choice is how invested I'm going to be in organics, if that makes sense. Like, will I have like that border and that line of, you know, you're you and I'm me, or will I want to be a part of them, sort of thing? I really got that feeling there where she was willing to sacrifice. Like, I think she would have sacrificed if she needed to, and that was a very interesting thought. Looking at that, you know, it's Data. Whenever he made decisions in the past, a lot of times it was based off of probability and statistics. And Sam is looking at her crew with care, and this is a much different approach. So she's got like those Data like qualities, but she's not stopping herself based off of probability of success. So I think it's very interesting.
You know, you mentioned that she doesn't have the same risk and that they couldn't harm her in the same way. Obviously, the cannibals weren't going to eat her, but she was injured. And I thought that this was, you know, towards the end of the episode, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but she was injured in her own way. And we also, as chat points out, saw the doctor treating her at the very end. Some people saying that felt odd. I'm not sure that I see it that way.
He's a fellow photonic.
Exactly. Instead of an engineer.
He's the best person to look.
He honestly is. I mean, and he's had, what, 800-900 years now to learn about himself and probably care for himself. He's been able to maintain his own program longer than any other engineer has been alive. So yeah, I don't know that I found that odd. Griffin, were there any logistical concerns for you there seeing Sam being treated by the EMH?
Hated it. Well, no. What I hated was that the EMH was not the first person there in the scene. His little protege, another doctor, was there. And then finally the camera pans right and you see the doctor back facing, but still in the room and contemplating what's going on. So he's like in charge of the care. I agree with Beck, but to a larger degree, he should have been the person trying to figure out what was wrong with Sam, because everybody knows that's exactly what would be the case. The doctor would want to know what's going on with the hologram, the photonic, and he would want to be involved, if not directly responsible for that repair. I feel what I hated about it was they didn't need to do that to her character. She just came off the back of a strong episode. Everything that Beck said, I completely agree with her morality kicking in and that choice, and she made that choice. Why all of a sudden do we need to bring into the you know, we're gonna permanently injure or harm a hologram? It's light. Why are we now? You know, she's glitching.
She's code.
It doesn't need that.
She's code.
I disagree with everything you just said.
That unnecessarily weakened her character for no reason.
I disagree with that. I don't think that weakened her at all. If anything, it deepens her bond with her friends, her colleagues, and shows that she's vulnerable, just like Data was, just like the doctor was. She's vulnerable.
Data was a real person that's there. The doctor had the mobile emitter. This is a computer that exists only as light in a hologram, and I don't understand.
Chicago.
You needed to reprogram her to get drunk, okay? But now all of a sudden there was some sort of weapon that's going to blow a hole through her and make her glitch out for the next 3 weeks.
Glitchy thing. Chicago, you disagree. Tell me why.
Oh. Well, yeah, let me break down, I guess, all my many points of disagreement there. The first one, similar to the last episode, they are, in my head, pretty clearly keeping a distance between the doctor and Sam. Like they have made it abundantly clear that is not a thing. She's not going to be his protege or, you know, any sort of tie there. There was a much more fulfilling moment with Dax for Sam than with the doctor. I think this space is very clear and very intentional, and I'm okay with that for the moment. I also
that's about Sam. That's not about the doctor. I'm talking about the doctor. The doctor is a busybody. The doctor's always been a busybody. There's no way the doctor's not going to want to be involved in the care of that fellow hologram.
Okay, if you were 2,000 years old, I'm sure you would slow down a little bit too. But okay, besides that, not only that, but we just got off the back of the episode where Sam is basically, you know, saying like, sorry, my makers, I'm going to go trust humanity. And then she gets put in the position where she has to put her trust in her companions and execute. And she does trust humanity. And you know what it gets her? Damaged.
Ooh. Well, look at that report. Yeah. You know, that's right. Yeah, that is. You know, if the makers saw that, The makers see the organics hurting their kind, right? So yeah, really, really strong point there. Yeah, right. Guffa pulling out like a whole season 2 arc there. Is what Chicago just did. That's the season 2 arc is going to be between the Federation and the makers. All right, you watch
and
it.
And add to that on the Doctor. We kind of got there. They've specifically have put a rift between him and Sam, and I think that there's a part within him that is conflicted about the existence of other photonics. You can see that he doesn't almost seem to care that there are other photonics around. Like, he doesn't really, I guess, outwardly care. And I almost wonder, hear me out, I almost wonder if there's a piece of him that has seen so much loss and seen himself just basically live forever, that he almost doesn't want that for anybody else. Like, almost like, you, like, I feel bad when I look at you, knowing what you're going to have to experience for the next 200 years or whatever. Like, there's a piece of me
that
also
would explain
that feels
his line
that
from
way
last week that we all hated.
Yeah,
and I think that's what you're going for. It's like, oh, now he's the long-suffering doctor who's a spin alive who cannot die, and that's going to be his spin, the jaded doctor. Boo to that, I say. I hope you're wrong.
I think Deep Space Nine hints in a couple areas that, like, the EMH has had a long lifetime of, hey, you're going to get replaced by a better hologram, right? They try to do long form EMH, that's called like the long-term medical hologram, and it's like 6 different versions of the EMH, and like every time he's encountered another hologram, at least in this super modern 32nd century Trek, it's always, hey, you're going to get replaced by a better model, and he never does. Maybe that plays in here.
All right,
maybe.
Let's transition. There's not much to talk about with Genesis and Darum today, but there was a little bit, and I want to spend just a couple of minutes on this. They were on the bridge of the Athena, both of them working together, looking for the enemy ship and coming up. I had very Geordi and Data vibes from their interaction on the bridge, the way that they were kind of working together to solve the problem that the Athena bridge crew did not solve. Laura Thok was impressed. Chancellor Ake was impressed. They put all of their eggs in this Genesis Darum basket. Chicago, tell me a little bit about this and what you learned about Darum, Genesis. I mean, Darum, I haven't liked him from the very beginning, but I feel like he is actually growing more as a commanding officer than probably any of the other characters throughout this season so far. Tell me what you learned about Darum and Genesis today as far as leadership potential, officer potential, and their ability to work on a bridge in crisis.
Yeah, I mean, the leadership potential is clear here, but in a number of different ways, right? Like, I could easily see Genesis being a captain, and I could easily see Darum being her number one. And I think it's maybe somewhat of the dynamic they're building here. From the first episode or second episode, or I guess whenever they were playing Calica, he's really trying to be the leader of the pack. He's trying to be number one. Hey, I was the best back home. I'm going to be the best here now too. Right. It feels like you went to like a really small school in a really small town, or like you were homeschooled and now you're in a big, like public university. And I think he's learning his place somewhat. And more than that, he's really showing that at the end of the day, he's a team player. He's not trying to be number one. He's not trying to be the captain because he wants to be better than everyone else and have control. He's trying to benefit the team, and he thinks, at least he thought in that case, that he was the most capable to lead that team. And as soon as it seemed like that wasn't the case, he played his role. He took a step back, and he contributed in the way that was best for the team and for the objective. And I think that's admirable. And yeah, it does signal a notable amount of growth or change in the first couple of episodes of, one, how he views himself, and then secondarily, how we all view him as a result.
Beck, we saw in the episode that had a lot to do with him, the Calica episode, he wrote his parents a letter back home about the fact that he had learned that he didn't need to be number one. To Chicago's point, he didn't need to be the best. It was about becoming a team. It was about learning about himself and about his new family and about how to be a part of a crew. Do you get the same vibes from this Genesis Darum interaction, and do you still feel like there could be romantic potential there?
I've never felt like there's going to be romantic potential between the two of them, but I do believe that they kind of did the whole, initial, I don't know, fun little flirt thing so that way they could have a genuine friendship after the fact. We saw the two of them kind of go head to head, and Darum realizing like you said, it's not about being the best, but it's about being efficient in this matter. I like that they were able to both step back and analyze like what they needed to do within that situation. She's an admiral's daughter. She's seen things, like she's got some, knowledge of certain situations that probably other cadets don't. And then he's now learning how to be not only supportive, but be able to help like drive whatever the initiative is. You've got to think about the fact of the two of them are sitting on the bridge where other senior officers would normally be seated, right? So they have to just do the thing. And we saw like a lot of good growth here, but I think you're right. Like we see a lot more growth in Darum episode after episode after episode. And we're going from like, fish boy to, fish boy. Like,
yeah,
way to go, man.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he definitely showed very real officer potential, and so did Genesis here. I mean, they solved the problem. They were the ones who discovered the plot with Nus Braka as we get towards the end there. But even how supportive they were. Darum particularly was rooting on. You gave the thumbs up to Genesis, like we're all nervous, but you're doing a great job. I really am, and I hate to say it, but I'm kind of really coming around on Darum being command material here, and I thought that was something that deserved a little bit of conversation. Then, obviously, as we've talked about, Nus Braka re-enters the scene, and boy, this could take all night. Let me first lay out. We could talk a little bit about Nus Braka, but the interaction he had with Ake, Griffin, from a production standpoint, I felt like this was the highlight of the episode. And it wasn't action. It wasn't science and technology. It wasn't the craziness. This was full-on psychological thriller. And I know from your experience with movies and television, this can be difficult to shoot in such a way that it makes it interesting. But Paul Giamatti, my God, what a talent. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on this interaction between Ake and Nus Braka.
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you that Fishboy and Genesis are totally going to bang. I mean, there's no way around it. We're absolutely going to get there. What? I don't know what Beck is thinking, but there's absolutely no way that does not happen by the end of this series.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we put that in our show. Thank you.
I mean, they are hot to trot. They're doing the little fist bumpies. They're all proud of each other. They're doing that. It's all the work relationship dynamic, ladies and gentlemen. It's being told in the 32nd century, but it's definitely there.
Okay.
Anyways, Nus Braka, now that I got that off my chest,
Thanks.
That was a masterclass in acting. Obviously, Paul Giamatti is incredible. But how smart is Nus Braka?
Oh,
he had everybody figured out all along. Number one, he set up a plan. He got the baddie to the ship. He's probably listening to everything that Starfleet Academy is doing. He got it all set up. He knew what the opportunity was. He sprung his trap. They fell for it. He anticipated that he would need to be called for whatever happened 6 months ago when he did whatever he did to get the bad guys out of his way. They do, in fact, call him. My friend, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. He employed that philosophy. He was working with them all along, and he sprung trap number 2. It's a 2-part trap. And then, it unfolded exactly the way that he got what he wanted. And now he's got little headmistress barefoot pants under his thumb. What is she going to do?
Headmistress.
I mean, he's got her dead bang. And not only that, but he absolutely dropped a verbal mind just time bomb on her
Wow.
and then dropped the mic and left at the end. And I don't know that she will ever be the same after that verbal tongue lashing that she received at the hands of Nus Braka. I mean, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
That was very, very well played on it. Everything went right. He got the royal flush this week. He is the big winner of this episode. Everything went his way. And that creates really good drama and really good audience retention, because now we all need to see. And you know what? Will we see him next week? No. He's an in or an outer. He's a Q. You never know when this guy's going to pop up. You never know when he's going to, spring the trap. But he told her, your big receipt is still coming.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give it to you. And wow, that's going to be a great season finale, I predict.
I just structurally speaking, I can see we're in episode 6. I can see 2 more, and then I see a 2-part season finale. I see Nus Braka being episodes 9 and 10 with a cliffhanger at the end of 9. And boy, I mean, let's talk about Paul Giamatti for a second. I'm speechless. You're right, Griffin. It was a master class. The way that he embodied this villain, the way that he delivered his dialogue, give me villains that this guy reminds you of. I saw the Joker. I see Khan.
I absolutely saw that. In fact, I was reading up on that in my comic book of choice right here.
Oh,
because
that one. Yeah.
There are very many parallels between what the Joker did to Batman in The Killing Joke and what we saw here today with Nus Braka. That's not an accident. I'm sure somebody read that. Just like, there are Star Trek Fleet Command fans on this production, because if you tell me that Nus Braka's ship is not a Stella, you need your eyes checked. That ship is a Stella. That is 100% Stella. That is gimmick and copyright infringement. And I don't know who's going to call him on it, but there's no doubt in my mind.
All right.
Anyway.
We had that other one that kind of looked like the Dauntless, but
we did, but that is a Stella.
Listen, I kind of felt like the Miyazaki looked a little bit like a Rialta. Call me crazy, but it had that one nacelle on the top. That was my first reaction when I saw the Miyazaki, and I'm like, oh, it's a Rialta. That's so ridiculous that we look at ships in Star Trek.
Somebody's been pulling from the content pool when they do their artwork.
Yeah, we do.
But I have to say, so episode 1, he came off as kind of crazy and scatterbrained, and I wasn't really sold on him. I'm not gonna lie. I had seen a lot of the promotional materials that just were praising him, and I was like, all right, cool. And when the first episode launched, I was like, I don't feel very threatened. I just didn't have that same feeling. And this episode totally changed my mind. Totally.
Yeah, he's like another dumb, stupid Harry Meadow. We've seen this character before, but then he literally, I'm actually smarter than all of you. And I've been doing it this whole entire time. And look at how he was acting the first part of this episode that we just watched, and how, you got me dead bang. Oh, you figured me out. But oh man, he literally had it lockstep, start to finish. The whole plan was in play, and it worked.
I felt it deep in my chest when Nala, she says it 2 times before we see something really happen. But she says 2 different times in 2 different ways, it shouldn't be this easy. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be this simple. That just,
and she didn't listen to herself.
Something's not right.
That actually irritated me just a teeny tiny little bit. Because you're right, Beck. She said that twice. This doesn't feel right. But then she ignored that. It's like she spoke it out loud, but then was like, whatever. And
they're on the clock.
I guess so. I noticed that twice, and that actually irritated me, because I feel like a Starfleet captain would have looked at all the angles. I do feel like she missed something there. She was right in that something was being missed, but up to this point, Ake, as Griffin has claimed, has been the chess master. We saw her in episode 2, helping her cadets come to a realization about pranking the War College. We saw her in the episode with Jaden, trying to get him to a point of making the suggestion. You guys claimed that she already knew what the outcome was going to be with Klingon Obel before Jaden came to that realization, and she led him there. All of these examples that you guys have have pointed out of her being the chess master, being the excellent educator, being the one that's guiding these students to the right answer. And today we missed it. She missed the right answer. And
well,
I'm
she's
wondering,
a cheater because she's seen it all before.
Well,
until today.
how
How good does Nus Braka feel about himself driving away, saying, here's someone who's lived forever, and I got her.
Well, he did. And I wonder how much of that, and this is something I want to have a real conversation about, how much of that was him throwing her off her game with psychological warfare. Chicago, I'm going to come to you first. We learned something about Ake tonight, and Nus Braka knew it, and he used it. Did that play a role in Ake missing the entire plot?
All right, look. First, can I request permission to go on a mini rant here?
Please give it to me.
Excellent. Okay, because there are like 4 or 5 like key things in this interaction to me, and I love all of it. First of all, my favorite Star Trek episode of all time is Ship in a Bottle. There's a couple of close contenders. I like the Stratagema episode. That's top 3 for sure, but hands down, Ship in a Bottle is my favorite episode. And most of the reason that I love that episode is because I love the higher brain thinking and the pitting of minds, right? In Star Trek, we have a lot of, physical warfare, but I enjoy just as much and sometimes a lot more the intellectual warfare. And yeah, to your point, right? This is kind of one of those situations where it was 40 chess. It was Moriarty against Picard, but our hero, our captain that has led us through all of these things, who is always right, was not, right? She missed the mark this time. And this is now the first time, I think, since taking up the chancellor job, when she's looked at Starfleet and said, wow, I remember why I resigned here. Like, I made a bad decision and it got people hurt, which is, she'd resigned because of the 2 situations previously. At least they're making it sound like that she had made a mistake, at least what she believed to be a moral mistake in the face of logical decisions, and people paid the price for it. I think that's absolutely huge. I think there is a piece of this where I love, to Griffin's point, like that Braka seems to be kind of in and out. It really feels kind of Deep Space Nine like, with the pacing, where we have both the episodic feel and like the character development and like kind of self-contained narratives, but then they're also setting up these bigger scale villains and these kind of it's like spinning plates, almost open loops that are yet to resolve. We're building up the tension and really creating life in this new universe, right? We're creating new threads of tension. No longer is it the demilitarized zone and the neutral zone and the Federation, Klingon, Romulans, or the Dominion War. You've got now a very tangible background threat in the galaxy. And then I think, like, my final piece of this, which I didn't mention earlier with the Furies, but I think it's worth noting the logistics that even have to occur for him to win here, right? If we think about like The Next Generation, or if we think about Deep Space Nine, or any of these like more classic Treks, we know everything in the Alpha Quadrant. If we want to encounter new enemies, they either had to travel here from the Gamma or Delta Quadrant, or we had to get shown them by Q or some other, caretaker type of entity. We've got everything mapped out. Not only did we not really know the Furies, who are literally knocking on our front door right now in the quadrant that we're in, but the Furies also seem to be very greedy. They're damn near ransom criminals. Like, they're asking for bars of latinum here in 3200. They're asking for bars of latinum. They're instilling this idea of greed and pirating in the galaxy. And it's, I think, super worth noting that Nus Braka appears to just have significantly better intelligence in this sector than the whole Federation. Slash mini rant.
Okay, and you're right about everything there. He knew, and so coming back to you're talking about him masterminding this. It goes back to even and raises questions about what really happened in Sector 119. The Federation's intel indicated that he defeated them, right? And he even played it to Ake, like, as Griffin pointed out a little bit ago, played the scared Nus Braka that they were still coming after him. She thought she had won in that scene. She thought she had won in that scene by determining the fact that Nus Braka needed the Federation when he was obviously, playing the psychological warfare. But what did happen now in Sector 119? Did he defeat the Furies? Did he come to some kind of a deal? Why did the Furies leave him alone? And now we're kind of wondering what did actually happen in Sector 119. Griffin, do you have any thoughts or predictions on what actually happened? Did they actually have a conflict, or was this a business transaction, or did Nus Braka said, hey, you leave me alone, I'm going to deliver the Federation to you? How did this happen?
Well, he has something that they want in order to have them go along with his plan. He obviously didn't defeat them and have them under his thumb, I don't feel. So there has to be something else to it. And it probably, the best lies are surrounded by the truth. So a lot of what he said to Ake about their condition and why they are the way they are, it's probably true. The question is, what does he have for them that they want? And that's probably the fresh meat of the Starfleet Academy.
Well,
so
not only that,
I feel as though that.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say not only that, but we also don't yet know what was taken from Starbase J Alpha. They made it a point to indicate that there was highly classified, highly experimental weaponry that was being developed at that starbase, and now it's in the hands of Nus Braka. Was it just about a fresh meal for the Furies, or was it about receiving some of this weaponry that was ripe for the picking at Starbase J Alpha?
Well, Discovery was there, so maybe it is the Red Angel suit. You never know. Anything's possible in this world.
Okay. Beck, let me come to you and ask a little bit about this psychological warfare piece, because I saw, we're talking about this just a couple of minutes ago. This was very riveting content for you as well. How do you think that Nus Braka, or are you surprised, rather? Let me come back to that. Are you surprised that Nus Braka was able to seemingly very easily manipulate Chancellor Ake?
No. And the reason I'm not is just because there was this certain uneasiness about him, this certain confidence that was underlying in the conversation the entire time. I think like they filmed it in a way that you wanted to feel like he was being overconfident with nothing to back it up, almost like what they were saying. Like maybe he's scared that that he can't, take care of them either, or that they won't leave him alone or whatever. But there's a part during the conversation whenever they're in her like room, her chamber, whatever you want to call it, her foyer. And I don't know, like the mood just shifts. She starts to call him out on something, and he doesn't react or respond the way that somebody would when they start to feel like they're losing. So I don't know. I always love any sort of psychology or psychological warfare that occurs. I studied psychology. Like I find it fascinating. So seeing like this interaction was really, really unique and fun. I wasn't surprised that he had the upper hand. I knew something had to happen. Last week when we had this talk, the theory was there was going to be some sort of conflict in this episode. And I want you guys to also, I don't know if you guys noticed this. This is the first episode that we have seen Ake be serious in a long time, like since the start of the season. Like, yeah, she was wearing shoes. I think a lot of people noticed that part. But like, this is the first episode where she's not just trying to be loosey-goosey, have fun, which really shows us that she can flip the switch to being like, leader in the moment when it needs to happen, like a leader in a different way. So it was, I don't know, like that just, those entire like scenes back and forth, all the dialogue, the body language, like that slow zoom in on her hands when she tightens them and she crosses her legs in that moment of hearing about her son. Like she's putting up with the psychological warfare, and she falls for the trap. She falls for the he's just trying to get in my head, but she's not looking past the fact of it's simpler than that. He's set the whole thing up, and he's had months to think about this. He ejected himself out inside of in space with the escape pod, right? And he's had months to be thinking specifically of how he was going to get her back. So of course he studied her. Of course he looked into everything. Of course he looked at the fact that the War College had already been routinely going to this ship to be doing things. Like he was ready. He was so ready. And the last thing that she expected was that this rumor of him getting rid of these creatures might not have been all that true. Might not have been all that true. Like maybe it was a setup so that way it could be for this. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that back and forth.
Yeah, there's a lot that we learned about how mastermindy he is and what an influence he is in the quadrant. To be able to have gotten all the intel and mastermind this attack on Starbase J Alpha, but also what he seemingly knew about Ake personally, that she was surprised that he knew. She even came in when she was talking with Admiral Vance and said, okay, you know, he's done this, he's got information, but he slipped up. She thought she had him, but to come back to what he had on her, we actually learned that her resignation from Starfleet may have had something more to do with something other than Caleb. Griffin, let's explore this here a little bit. We learned a tragic backstory on Ake tonight where, you know, this again might be another or a second decision, or the first with Caleb being the second, of a child loss, separated from their parent in obviously a different way here, but this time she was the one who made the sacrifice. Tell me about this interaction here and what you learned about Chancellor Ake, and does this influence her relationship with Caleb?
Well, Caleb's her second son in a way because she feels responsible for what happened to him. And either before or after that, I don't know, in the timeline, it wasn't clear which came first, the chicken or the egg. But the fact that we learned that she also lost a son who was also serving on a starship, and she had to make a command decision to be here instead of there. And that resulted in at least he, if not his crew, dying. It certainly adds a dimensional layer to her. And it kind of really raises the stakes on how important her relationship, in my opinion, would be with Caleb, because she doesn't want that to happen again. And here we are. And the way that he being Nus Braka turned that around on her and saying how now the opposite is true. And you saved the kid, but everybody else died. Ooh. And there's more emotional trauma for you. You're welcome for that.
Oh yeah, dude.
I thought that was just such a wonderful how the tables have turned moment that's very difficult, I mean, to parallel in Star Trek. Chicago brought out Ship in a Bottle, which is like a platinum level relic of how great Star Trek can be. And it is on that level, in my opinion. He's exactly right.
This was a horrifically diabolical message here at the very, very end of the episode. Nus Braka's victory speech, if you will, to Ake, which was personal, wasn't sent to Starfleet. It came directly to her. It was a personal message directly to Ake, and a gloating message at that. Beck, when we're looking at this, I mean, he laid on the psychological trauma all episode, but man, the nail in the coffin for Ake came in those final 60 seconds. Exactly what Griffin said. You know, okay, hey, great job, Ake. You've done better this time. You saved your boy at the cost of an entire starbase, and more potentially with the weaponry that he's now obtained from that starbase. How many other countless lives are going to be impacted throughout the quadrant? tell me, you love psychological thrillers. Tell me about the significance of this final transmission in the last 60 seconds to Chancellor Ake.
I think in that moment she realized he was a threat, like an actual threat. I think up until this point, she's looked at him like just something annoying that keeps slipping away from them, but not worth her time to really worry about or think. But I think in that moment, she saw that he played her, and she is not easy to play. I think like they've made a point in every episode to show us that she's always one step ahead. The fact that she wasn't on this one, and she like has to take that back and think, how did I miss this? How did I let this happen? How can I live with myself letting a cadet die? You know, like that's just, I think this is in the moment where she really feels like this is for real. Like he is actually a threat. This is actually someone that she now personally feels like she wants to take out. You can see like almost like the rage start before, like behind her eyes, as the episode's ending. It's crazy, but yeah, like I think like that's the moment where her approach towards him, her opinion of him, just changed entirely. It was not a, I think oftentimes like, and I think what they did in the first episode is show us that he can manipulate people, but he's kind of chaotic and he's kind of messy. This episode was everything was calculated, like scarily calculated, and she realized it didn't matter like which choice she made, he was gonna win regardless, just in a different way. And so he became a real threat in this episode.
Let's look forward. We've got 4 episodes left. Chicago, we have seen, as Beck calls her, loosey-goosey Ake through the first 6 episodes of this season. This episode was significant for Ake, and it can be a turning point. Now, the perspective here is that she's been around the block, right? She's something like 500 or 600 or 700 years old. She has obviously experienced loss. She has not won every single battle. Does this change Ake, or is her life experience enough to keep her centered and keep her the educator that we've come to know over the last 6 episodes? What do you expect us to see from Ake in episode 7? Or is this the beginning of the dark chapter of the first season of Starfleet Academy?
You know, I think there's a couple different routes it can go. I think there's going to be some fallout from this in the way that Ake is approaching just day-to-day life. She was very laissez-faire, and even like Beck said, even in that or maybe DJs as well, in that conversation she's having with Braka, she comes out of it talking to Vance, being like, yeah, I knew that if I played along long enough, he'd lower his guard and give me the intel I needed. Right? She felt on top in that scenario until the very end, and at the very end, like I got this almost. It's kind of like a serial killer in space vibe. Like it's not only I dunked on you in intellectual fashion, but now I've also prearranged to phone in a voicemail to let you know that I beat you and that I'm still going to keep beating you and that I hate you. Right? It's kind of like this almost like 50 Cent type of pettiness and like single ruin your life type focus that we're seeing from Braka. So I think either this is going to end up being just kind of helicopter, like obsessive safety focus around Caleb from Ake, or it's going to trigger another like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, maybe heart to heart with the Vance and the rest of the Federation type of route. I don't know if she's the type to take it out on Caleb or on herself, but I'm interested to see which one it will be.
I've got 2 questions to wrap up with this conversation about Nus Braka. And Griffin, and I'll come to you first. This brain game, as Beck puts it in chat, definitely demonstrates that Nus Braka has the mastermind capability. Up until this episode, I had kind of been convinced that he was a henchman, that he was a thug, and my original gut was telling me that Caleb's mom was pulling all the strings here. Is Nus Braka our season 1 big baddie, or is he still working for Caleb's mom?
Well, he's completely diabolical. First, I have to say that he has more in common with 50 Cent than you might imagine. And 50 Cent is not petty. 50 Cent is just a very good, clear thinker and a very good, long strategic planner. I mean, Nus Braka would definitely buy 200 tickets in the front 5 rows of his rival's concert just so nobody would show up, except for maybe him sitting in the middle seat. And
it's playing the person, not the game.
Yeah,
exactly right. So in that regard, you know, you just gotta respect that commitment to execution. And Nuts definitely has a Caleb's mom's gonna be in there somewhere. I mean, anybody can have their opinion on where that is. She gonna be a brainwashed bad guy? Is she gonna wear the red Discovery suit? I don't know. She's gonna be back, and she's gonna have an impact on the show one way or the other. I feel as though she will be working with Nus, but probably ultimately for good reasons. But now we just don't know what to expect. Everybody can agree on one thing, and that's Nus Braka. You have a new level of respect for who he is, what he brings to the table, and what he's capable of. I mean, right now he's the winner of the whole series. He didn't just win the show. He like, you know, the character arc there is incredible.
the bad guy definitely has the upper hand here. Chicago, Nus Braka, is he the big bad, or do you see this going somewhere else?
I don't know about the big bad. I'm actually like, I'm kind of more hoping there isn't a single big bad that resolves at the end of the season. I would really love to see Nus Braka as a character be played out over 2 seasons. I think it'd be great to see him again, and we get a slight win, then he gets one more big win until we can finally vanquish him, or, you know, something like a little more push and pull there. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, there is, as you guys are already speculating, like a lot of potential firepower behind this envelope. It definitely sounds like Caleb's mom or something related to it. I don't want to say Caleb's mom is the big bad, though. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Nus Braka is going to be the 10th season showdown, or the 10th episode showdown either. I don't know who the big bad's going to be. Maybe it's something we haven't seen yet. Most likely, neither of those two feel right to me personally.
Interesting. Beck, tell me your thoughts here on Nus Braka. You kind of always indicated that you didn't believe Caleb's mom was going to be the big bad. Does this episode change your mind, or is Chicago right? Have we experienced this show's first major twist now to the point where we don't know who we're going to see in episode 10?
I still don't think it's the mom. Someone in chat earlier said something along the lines of maybe the gift with the big red bow is Caleb's mom and she's dead. You know, like, so, like, I think that that's a potential possibility. We don't know where she's been for the last year. At least now it's more than a year. It's like a year and a half. She escaped from prison, and nobody has seen from her, heard from her. Nobody knows anything. So she is either dead, or B, I think she is working with Braka, but I don't think it's by choice. You know, I think that she likely can't get out of whatever it is that she's doing for him. And I think that there's going to be some kind of weird bargaining chip that is going to be used. I think, you know, Caleb has too many skills to be ignored by Braka at this point. So, like, I can also see there being he does want the kid. Someone else in chat mentioned that it did look like genuine fear or like worry that crossed his face when he mentioned that Caleb was on the ship. Like, it actually looked like for a moment that maybe he had genuine concern that he was there on the ship, because that could be his only bargaining chip for the mom. We don't know. I don't know. Do I think she's the ultimate big baddie? No. Do I think that he's the main villain? Part of me says yes, and then part of me, you know, feels like it could be also like a Founders Jim Hadar sort of situation, right? Like, there's some in the shadows person working. But I am, like, really excited to see it play out. I'm going to leave one more comment on the previous section that we talked about with Nala, just because it kind of hit me, you know, that someone said, like, maybe this trauma is going to change her, or I guess like how this happened maybe is going to change her and how we see her moving forward. Like, is she going to still be happy-go-lucky in the future or whatever? One thing that I think that is like super interesting about that is, like, you know, we look at Strange New Worlds. Ortega's got attacked by the Gorn, and she went through the whole thing of like having like the mind games, being obsessive about the Gorn for a while. We had Pike, who saw his own future, and he became obsessive for a while. You have Picard, who was assimilated by the Borg, and like that really messed with him for quite a bit. Like, he was struggling with that and had residual effects that played into the decisions that he made. And even in Deep Space Nine, we've got an episode where Martok is traumatized by being. I just watched this episode and just talked about this with Chicago the other day, so he's cheering over there. But in Deep Space Nine, there's the episode where Martok, he's finally, you know, back from being taken for what, 2 years by the Jim Hadar, and he's still having like those feelings, like that trauma, the residual trauma in him, and it's changed his outlook. It's changed the way that he approaches danger. I think we're going to see that from Nala. I think we're going to see that this is going to have a lasting impact. And for Braka, man, I just respect the type of villain that he is. Do I think he's going to be the ultimate big bad? I don't know. I kind of wish he will be, to be honest. Like, if what we saw today is going to be that cat and mouse, like Batman and Joker sort of weird, odd dance, I'm totally for it. But I don't think I'm going to see him again until, I don't know, episode 9.
Well, he definitely did lay the groundwork of being a great, amazing, maybe even a favorite villain. So that brings me to my last question about Nus Braka, and we'll go through the panel again with this question as we get ready to wrap up our show tonight. Griffin, compare Nus Braka to villains throughout Trek history. I saw chat mention just a moment ago lore. I got very Khan vibes out of him. Compare, contrast, where does he fall in your list of villains, and who does he remind you of?
Well, I mean, ever since Chicago said Moriarty, that makes perfect sense. And I'm sure that will be his answer. I hate to steal it, but I think that's the one that makes most sense because it's a cerebral, well thought out plan. I mean, there's just no way to not draw that parallel. And I think it's fantastic. In terms of the stakes and what he brings for this story, I don't think the stakes have ever been higher than what he's, I mean, literally the ticking time bomb he just left in Ake's head is very Borg Queen. It's very, I mean, there's just, you know, you don't know what's going to come next and you just have to sit there and wait.
Yeah.
You know, never before has a Star Trek villain really gotten into their adversary's head in that regard. And so that's why I'm kind of concerned on what's going to happen with Ake the next couple episodes. Is she going to soldier on and is she going to come up with a plan or is she going to lament? Are we going to get the dreadful scene where she talks to what's his face? It's like, man, see, I knew I shouldn't have come back. This is why I didn't want to take this job. You made me do it. And now I got somebody killed. Please don't have written that scene because that's not the way to go. That would be almost as bad as having Caleb's mom be some nobody who died 7 years ago. That would be like the Rey Skywalker's parents' nightmare all over again. Oh yeah, there were just a bunch of hippie drug dealers. They're dead. I mean, it's like what? Why are we talking about this for 9 episodes if that were the case? So, you know, that's really the consequence that Nus Braka brings to this. The stakes are super high. They could be potentially character breaking for Ake, and I'm nervous as to where we're going to go over here. And you know what? That makes great TV because now I'm thinking about it and now I'm worried about it. And that's how you want your viewer to feel.
Chad is telling me I'm way wrong on the Khan vibes, and I'll tell you why I kind of feel that way before I go on to the rest of the panel. Because Khan was also, he had that superior intellect. He was the mastermind. I mean, in Wrath of Khan, even Space Seed, he mastermind a takeover of the ship. In Wrath of Khan, he'd spent 30 some years planning his revenge on Kirk, and he got into Kirk's head in a very similar way. I mean, one of the most famous scenes in all of Trek history is Kirk absolutely losing his mind and screaming out Khan's name into the void. So I'm not necessarily saying that he is as good as Khan. I'm just saying I really feel that superior intellect. I feel that mastermind ability. I feel that revenge tone from Nus Braka. He hates Ake. I feel the revenge. I feel a lot of the same character conflicts between Kirk and Khan now between Ake and Nus Braka. Chicago, tell me why I'm wrong.
I actually don't think you're wrong. I think you have a pretty great case, to be honest. And the reason is because I think there's two main sides to Braka. One side is the side Griffin's kind of speaking to, which is the cerebral side, and I think that's kind of well represented by Moriarty. But I have another pick that I haven't seen anybody put yet. But I think your mention of Khan is great because of the braggadocious side, the bold side, the revenge that is in your face. A lot of the cerebral characters and villains that we've had in Trek do not have that. They're usually either brains or brawn, and Khan was one of those people that did have both, and I think is maybe the most similar to Braka in that respect. But as far as trying to encapsulate the interaction style, the way that they prefer, that Braka prefers to play ball, I don't think is how Khan likes to play ball. And so I'm going to actually go with Kuros. And if you don't know who Kuros is the spokesperson for the Voyager episode Think Tank, where it was like the set of super minds. And it's because Kuros has that same air of confidence of just like, oh, that's nice. Here's our price. We can fix the problem for you, or you can go on your merry way. But we know everything, and you're not going to pull one over on us. And it really feels like that scenario if Voyager didn't win.
Fair enough. Beck, chat still telling me I'm wrong on this. Destro coming out and saying that he might be one of the all-time great villains because you see elements of Khan, Lore, the Borg Queen, Lorca, Emperor Georgiou, taking the best attributes of all of them and making Nus Braka. Destro having huge accolades for Nustifer Braka here. Beck, where does he fall in the long line of Trek villains for you?
He might be one of, if not, I mean, we've only seen this one episode, so it's really hard to just base it off of that. But we've already kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, I got the same kind of creepy chills that I got in that Voyager episode, which is a very good episode, as well as, you know, when we see Khan. You get that same, like, creepy, deep in your bones chill of just, oh my goodness, like, this is a person that I don't know if I want to be around. They're making me feel all squealy. But I can't like pick another villain. I can't pick another Star Trek character who has done the whole mind manipulation, the psychological warfare, the two steps ahead, and just being like so evil about it. Like I don't use that word lightly. So he ranks up there for me. Like he is up there with Moriarty. Like he is just. And Moriarty, I don't even view as a villain. So, like, that's the other part, too, is, like, Moriarty, to me, is just an impressive, what's the word? I don't want to say hologram, but, like,
adversary.
Program, a specific program.
Yeah.
Yeah, adversary, yeah. Like, he was very impressive, but I never got the vibe that he just, I don't know, villains want pain half the time. And I didn't get that from Moriarty, and I don't get that from half of the other characters in Trek. Braka's probably the first that I've seen that just wants to delight in that, other than Khan, when Khan wants to get back at Kirk. Like, I don't know. Like, he's very, very interesting.
You just don't yet understand his motivation. Maybe he has a very justifiable reason for what he's doing.
Chat brings up some interesting commentary. It's only been one episode, guys, but I'll point out Khan had one episode before he got a movie. Okay, you had Space Seat. That was it. It was one episode, and then he turned into one of the best all-time Trek villains and got a movie. But, I mean, that was one episode. Riskbreaker points out that every series kind of has that Kirk and Khan adversary kind of thing. You had Janeway and Jason, as Chicago points out. Jason Alexander. You had Cisco and Eddington. Chicago, I saw you commenting in chat about the Eddington villain. Ake now has Nus Braka. Picard had Q, maybe, if you're looking at the series. Although that developed into some kind of weird friendship by the end of Picard. I don't know about... I just don't know where he lines up, but I don't think that we can write Nus Braka off because we've only had one episode. Khan had one episode. Chicago, I'm going to come to you for the final thought on this as far as him being a villain. Does he have the capability, and specifically, I guess I should say, does Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti have the capability of delivering a Kirk-Khan rivalry here within Starfleet Academy?
I definitely think so. I think all of the cards have been laid on the table here in this episode, and I think we're one card away from a royal flush right now. Right? We've crafted a fantastic villain who has, it seems like a very deep understanding of kind of our main guiding star in the series in Captain Ake, and already off the bat, we've painted both of them as the intellectual, superior in their interactions. So we have both a strong captain who is very intelligent, knows the ropes very well, and is clearly a strong, 4D chess player. We now also have the villain who has the same capability and in some respects even higher capability, but is willing to do things that we can't do because he's evil and a villain and has nothing to lose. I think that sets up all the makings for an absolutely indisputable all-time great villain. But I can't put him up there with a Khan yet or a Moriarty. I'm going to need to see one more episode of genius quality stuff going down, and I can go ahead and pencil his name in the Hall of Fame there.
Fantastic. Well, we'll get ready to wrap up our show here tonight. What an amazing episode. As we go down the panel for our final question of the night, has Starfleet Academy made the turn? Is this what we expected? Is this the Trek that traditional Trek fans have been screaming for? The internet continues to be loud with naysayers regarding Starfleet Academy, but this episode really, for me, I mean, I've enjoyed the series up to this point, but this episode really lays it down that Starfleet Academy is now going to stand on its own 2 feet. They got their space legs. Griffin, summarize how this episode worked for you up until this point through the first 6 episodes and what you're looking for in the final 4 of season 1. Is Starfleet Academy your new Star Trek?
Well, I mean, it has to be. It's the only Star Trek, but I'm supportive of it. I've always been supportive of it. I think that this episode definitely takes many steps in the right direction for me personally, because it followed a very familiar and lovable formula of, like I said, a problem being developed, it being set in an unfamiliar environment like the ship, a solution presenting itself which seems impossible, and then just the whole diabolical plot twist at the end, which is kind of the new component. So I think it's great. If I see more of this, I think that the show's going to be a hit. It has the potential of certainly being a hit. I'm just glad that the studio finally got a hold of Kurtzman and brought him in a little bit on the show, which is great. She kind of reeled him in a little bit from the first draft of the script here, where the bad guys were not Furies; they were actually just going to be Furries. And then somebody got, no, we can't have Furries. Come up, we'll make them Furies. And then boom, see, now we're boom, we're back on track.
Got it. Back. I don't even know how to come back off of that. Give me where you are with Starfleet Academy right now. Where do you look going forward?
like you, I've liked it the entire time. I've had my moments where, I've thought, well, I understand where they're going with this part, and I might be a little bit old. But like for the most part, I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed how they've set this up. I've been saying from episode 1 that we're gonna have a lot of character building before something crazy happens. Right after we get to the halfway point of this season, and we needed that. We needed all of that slow ramp up of getting to know the characters and loving them before we just see them, Yaka. One of them just gets like let loose. So
was that Yaka?
Yaka.
Yeah.
I like it.
Chicago,
Yeah.
final thoughts on where we are in this season. And before I do that, I will point out we've omitted a big thing in this episode, but we are out of time, and I'm reading as much chat as I possibly can, guys. But there's a lot. This was a great episode to unpack. We haven't even talked about Bobby's death. Okay, like you guys said this was going to happen.
Or the coma.
The coma. We haven't talked about the
thing getting ripped out of her neck.
I
and the
know.
fact that she
Listen,
made her dad deaf.
What? I mean, there's so much to unpack here, and like I said, we could go all night on this episode. But I want to be respectful of our panelists' time. There's a lot more that we haven't talked about. So if you guys want to, I'm game for it. But yeah, there was a lot that we didn't get to. Bobby's death, the neural inhibitor. Tarima saving the day. She's in a coma now. She had her childhood trauma, as everybody points out. There's a lot more that we can discuss here. So, and Chicago, where are you with this? And even something that we haven't discussed yet. Where are we with the season and some of these things that happened? Bobby's death, Tarima's sacrifice. What does that set up for you in the final 4 episodes of the first season?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like where we're at with Starfleet Academy and Trek, as a Trek fan, I'm overjoyed. I mean, I think this is really like damn near the Starfleet Avengers at this point, right? You've got the kind of the Discovery timeline, which, you're taking the best of Discovery. You've got kind of this Strange New Worlds season 2 kind of characterization going on here in the first couple of episodes. You're taking the best from there, right? You're getting Tawny Newsome in here from Lower Decks. You're bringing in, some Deep Space Nine callbacks. You've got, a villain that has some of the best traits of all the villains we've seen. And at the end of the day, like, if I were to put like one word on the thing I appreciate the most about Starfleet Academy at this point in time, it is the damn depth. They are writing depth into these episodes, into these callbacks. There are Easter eggs. There are things to look forward to. It's engaging. It's exciting. It's modern. It's a new take on Trek that I hope is resonating with a ton of people, and I'm super excited about and am enjoying. 10 out of 10 episode. Next 4 episodes should be the greatest thing I've ever seen. Let's hope.
Yeah, here's hoping.
I agree.
Yeah. Even you had mentioned the soundtrack. I noticed there in that final monologue of Nus Braka.
Yeah.
The guitar? The guitar. Yes, Griffin.
It's the first we've ever had an electric guitar in Star Trek, ever.
Dude, it inspired me to play our opening show music tonight with that guitar. You guys. No, that does not count. That's not
electric.
guitar.
There's no electric guitar in that.
No, yeah.
That's an acoustic guitar.
That inspired the show opening music today, which ordinarily I would trim out of the episode, but I think I'm going to leave it in on the podcast playback because it was just that crazy good. That final monologue, the electric guitar, man, that gave me chills. Guffa, that gave me chills, Kirk. That was the perfect musical piece to that perfectly evil and diabolical monologue at the very, very end.
The riff was completely ripped off from Twilight. To be fair, I'm not joking, but it still it served its purpose.
It served its original purpose, and it landed. It landed in such a way. Guys, thank you so very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you being a part of our live studio audience. A round of applause and thank you. Wait. What? Okay, stop.
Wait.
Stop everything, please.
We skipped our one big thing in the closer. Our predictions for the next episode.
Okay. She
DJ.
wanted that. No, I mean, I asked where we see the final couple of episodes going here, but please, Beck, give me your prediction.
No, don't start with me.
She wants to go last because she knows she's right. All right, fine. Griffin.
I actually am less confident about my prediction for next week. All the other ones I felt very strongly
I
about.
wasn't
And now I'm like,
censoring
oh,
back.
they're
I asked the
muddying
question.
together.
I asked the question. Okay, I see the chat has a big prediction. They think episode 7 is going to introduce Mary Wiseman. Tilly, we're going to get next week. Yeah, that's the
Good
chat is
guess.
calling for that. Griffin, any surprise revelations that you expect in week 7?
I'm on the verge of a sneeze.
He's allergic to spoilers.
The table was reset at the end of this last episode, and so we're kind of starting from a completely new place. This should be the Return of the Jedi beginning here, but we might not had enough of the Empire Strikes Back yet. So there might still be another shoe to drop. I predict that another shoe is going to drop, and then something is going to lead us to some very climactic ending. And I trust the storytelling. They've not done us wrong up to this point. I think it's been great, but I think we're going to see something else really bad happen, like the loss of another character or something of that level before we get to the end here.
Chicago.
I'm gonna do the equivalent of taking like all the money I came to the casino with and putting it on a single number on roulette. I'm gonna say my prediction is that the Betazoid Tarima is half Vulcan. All right, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, how else does the mind melt happen? Of course, she's half Vulcan.
Vulcans have really intense emotions that they have to learn to suppress, right? So the reason her emotions could be way more intense and could do the mind melt, like it makes sense.
Buddy, that's not betting red 16. That's just betting black. I mean, that's very likely that that's the case.
I am going to
I think
take
I got a
all of
50% chance of her being 50% Vulcan.
I'm
That's
going to
crazy.
take
Yes,
all
I
of
think
my
you're
money. I'm going to take all of my money that I came to the casino with, and I'm going to bet it on absolutely Tarima is not a Vulcan. I would be willing to put a small wager on Tarima does not survive the season. She is a super weapon, and it may be Tarima and a self-sacrifice to put an end to this galactic threat. I would be willing to place.
No, they're not going to Kessler. No way. I put all of my money on Genesis and Fishboy are going to bang.
All right, Beck wanted to go last. Beck, what is your prediction for episode 7?
I wouldn't have called that a Kess. I would have called that a Patel. But anyway, from Strange New Worlds, Pike's Patel. Anyway, if anybody's not caught up. My prediction, I don't... My prediction is
Why
not...
do I feel so called out right now? What just happened?
Oh, goodness.
I'm sorry. I viewed it more like a sacrificial moment rather than I'm just a weapon, you know. But I don't have a prediction for the next episode, and I wish I did. But I do have a prediction.
You wanted this segment.
Hold on.
Okay.
This could be in the next episode. I feel like it might happen in the next coming episodes, and I'm hoping it happens in the next episode. My prediction. We know that Tarima is in a coma. And she is linked now to Caleb. Now, coma, like, she's still going to have some brain activity or whatever. I have a prediction that maybe she's going to sporadically and periodically kind of appear in his mind.
Oh.
As she's phasing in and out of potential consciousness. Maybe he's able to get into her mind a little bit and see in the deep, dark place that she's at, and he kind of pulls her back, like Inception. So, that is my prediction.
I unfortunately think that is very wrong. Oh, wait, chat loves that. Chat loves it. Okay.
Yeah,
all right, we're going
You're
very
wrong to think that's wrong.
very search for Spock on this thing. Okay.
You told me I'm wrong every week. I could be
his
wrong.
Imzadi. That's what Captain Taylor says. She is his Imzadi. I don't know. We'll find out.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of Imzadi, we're less than 10 days away from Star Trek The Cruise. Griffin, are you ready for that?
No.
No, me neither. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a part of our live studio audience. Thank you to our very special guests tonight, Chicago Hearts and Beck Likes Plants. Thank you so very much. Appreciate you guys.
Yay!
You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for being in our live studio audience. This has been a very special presentation of Talking Trek. A look inside episode 6 of Starfleet Academy. Come, let's away. As we prepare for our final 4 episodes into Starfleet Academy's first season. Very, very excited to see where this thing can turn. We appreciate you guys all being in our live studio audience. And thank you for consuming Talking Trek, a registered trademark and recorded in front of a live studio audience for distribution across podcast platforms everywhere. I am your friendly neighborhood cat person, UltimatDJz. And he's Griffin.
Oh, and I'm Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful night, everybody. See you on the next one.